Thanks for tuning into the Ontario ReShard show today. Our guest is an anointed worship leader, songwriter, artist who delivers authentic and relevant music that inspires and encourages. She's a native of Fort Smith, Arkansas, but she currently resides in the Windy City area. Of course, you guys know that Chicago area, so a lot of talent up there as well as Fort Smith, Arkansas. Um, Growing up in a musically inclined household influenced her to begin singing and writing songs at a very young age. At the age of 15, she began to realize the call of God on her life and how music would be the vehicle through which, uh, you know, that she would go. Of course, we play a lot of her music from Beyond to others, and now we currently play her new single called Victorious. Join us today. We have the one, the only, Shirlandria. How you doing, sister?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I was trying to give you one of those Steve Harvey introductions, but I was
I
trying to.
appreciate
I
it.
don't want to give too much because I want to, use some of it in the conversation. So I didn't want to do your whole bio. So I was just trying to hit
Oh,
the key
yeah.
points.
I understand. You did a great job.
All right, thank you. And of course, one of the questions I always ask when I have a guest on for the first time is I want to see who they are behind the titles because a lot of people have multiple titles. And
For
I know
sure.
we mentioned that you're an artist, you're a songwriter, folk arranger, and all these different things. But who's Solandria outside of the titles?
Outside of the titles, I'm a Southern girl. Like you said,
Okay,
I'm originally from Fort Smith.
okay.
I've been living in Chicago for about 8 years now.
Hmm.
I love music. I love fitness, health. Um, I'm also a worship leader too. I've been leading
Hmm.
worship for about 20 years. So, I
Hmm.
mean, music honestly is my life. If it's not artistry, writing songs, producing, I'm leading worship.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's me.
Okay. And of course, I know, in your bio, you really started really getting into it around the age of 15. But what really inspired you to um, go after the music professionally?
Professionally.
Hmm.
Honestly, it just was always around. I grew up singing in church choirs. And then when I was about 15, that's when I started noticing
Hmm.
that I could write. And what's
Hmm.
interesting is a lot of people don't know this. I started out in a Christian rap group
All right.
in high school.
What
So
was the name of the group, if you remember?
it was called SCK, Southern Christian
Okay.
Clique. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what's
And
up.
so we would do like talent shows, like
Hmm.
we did I think it was like the Black History. This was 20 some years ago, okay. I think it was like the Black History Month program where we did it. And that was my first time like on stage, like performing.
Hmm.
And it was like that adrenaline rush. And once
Hmm.
I got a feel of like that thing turned on, it was like, oh my God, like, okay, this
Hmm.
is different from church, like this
Yeah, yeah.
performance thing. But yeah, like I said, I started out with the Christian rap group. I rapped, I sang a lot of hooks. And so
Hmm.
like I kind of became the hook girl, and that's kind of how it started.
Hmm.
And then I always would write. And then I backslid and had a little stint back in college where, I
Hmm.
kind of fell away from the things of God, and God
Hmm.
actually used music to bring me back to him, and he would bring back those songs. And I had
Hmm.
this notebook full of songs.
Hmm.
And then as a part of one of my classes, it was sound recording and technology. It was just an
Hmm.
elective class that I just decided
Yes.
to take. A part of our assignment was to record. And
Hmm.
so I got the opportunity to work with a producer I went to University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, UAPB.
Yep,
Um,
I'm familiar with that
yep.
particular school. Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
And we recorded one of the songs, and it just kind of kept going from there. And this
Hmm.
was 2004. Ooh, yeah, 21 years.
That's amazing. Um, you know, for the ones that don't know, that's a pretty prestigious school as well. I'm a
Mhm.
FAMU Rattler, so that's who I
Okay,
represent when
my
it comes
uncle
to the
goes there.
HBCUs. Yeah, yeah. So,
Yes.
and of course, now that I know that you used to rap or might still have it in you,
Ooh.
is do you when it comes to the rapping and the singing at that time back in I know this was years ago, but did you prefer one of them over the other?
Um, Singing came naturally. Singing was
Hmm.
always who I was. So I would consider myself a singer who could rap, but I'm
Hmm.
definitely not a rapper.
Okay.
Like I just started like over the last couple of years, like trying to freestyle. I can write, but
Hmm.
that ain't that's not my thing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, definitely a
And
singer.
hmm and of course, as we mentioned, you're originally from Fort Smith, Arkansas. Like a lot of people came out of Fort Smith area,
Mhm.
and but how were you able to develop your own personal sound? Because I know you mentioned, you had family members that did a lot of things musically, but how did you create your own sound?
I think it's something I don't think I created it. I think I stumbled
Mhm.
upon it just,
Okay.
after years and leading worship. One of the things I can say about the different churches that I served
Hmm.
at when I was in Arkansas, they gave me space. They gave me
Hmm.
room to
Hmm.
discover myself. They gave me room to be creative. They gave
Hmm.
me room, like they didn't, how some churches is like, oh, this is our sound, this is how
Yeah.
we do it. It was like I had so much freedom to explore that I just kind of stumbled. It was almost like I was like in this wilderness because there weren't a lot of worship leaders around. There were a lot of churches, a lot of people still doing choir music, a lot of people venturing into praise and worship at that time. And then, like I
Hmm.
said, I was surrounded by a lot of rappers and stuff. So there wasn't a lot of people for me to pull on. So all I knew was what I could do. And so I just
Hmm.
leaned on that.
Okay. And of course, my discovery of your ministry was through a fellow artist and friend of mine, his name's Sterling Mooney. He shared
Yeah.
he shared
That's my
your
boy.
Beyond track with me, and he's
Uh-huh.
like, "Man, you got to play this. You got to play this, man, on your show. You got to play it. She's great. I promise. I can vouch for it." He was like really talking you up. I was like, "Okay." Because you know how sometimes when people hype up a person, then you guys should go listen to them, or you seem like, "Oh yeah, that wasn't."
Yeah.
But what do you what actually sit down and listen to? I think it was maybe 20, 25 minutes later because I was out doing something. So when I
Hmm.
actually had time to sit, I was like, yeah, he wasn't lying. So I put it in I uploaded to the station that same night. And then, of course, start playing in the rotations. But of course, like I said, that was my introduction to you. So
Wow.
can you share the story behind that particular song?
Beyond, oh my goodness.
Yes.
I wrote that song probably around 2019, 2018, 2019. And it was just a period of discovery. Like I said, I moved to Chicago from Arkansas, and it was literally a leap of faith for my family at that point. And we were just felt like Abraham or like one of those Bible stories where God tells you, go to a place where I'll show you. And you don't really know the plan. You don't know how things are going to pan out. You don't really know the steps, how it's all going to come together, but God said go, and you're walking by faith. So that's kind of the journey that I've been on, honestly, for the last 8 years. And I remember I was just sitting down at my keyboard one day back then, and I was worshiping, and that's how a lot of my songs come. Like I may be worshiping with a known song, and then just kind of start flowing prophetically,
Yeah.
and the lyrics kind of started coming. Um, and so that's how the song was originally birthed. But literally, I feel like I've been walking out that song, that journey, in several seasons for the past 8 years. And I think I've had like
Hmm.
3 cycles of it where it's like, oh God, I'm back in this place of like trusting God and
Hmm.
not knowing the path and not knowing what's next, but literally
Yes.
walking by faith. So
Hmm.
yeah.
And then also to can you share the backstory of the new single, "Victorious"? But wait,
This
actually, before you get in
uh
that, can you tell us about "Rock and Roller" before you get into that?
rock and roll. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
I'm gonna
That
take you back a little bit.
that was like 2010 that album came out.
Yeah,
Um, so I told you I was part of the Christian rap group. There's actually a guy named K Dub
yeah,
out of
yeah.
Smith. He's a producer and a rapper
Hmm.
who's part of Fourth Soil. I don't know if you're familiar with them from Fort Smith.
More so,
But
K Dub. Yeah.
he had this track and he was like, I got this song, and you the only person that I know that can do it. And he played the track for me, and he was like, this is what I'm hearing. And he was like, rock, 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 rock. And I'm like, okay, like,
Hmm.
all right, let me see what I can come up with.
Yeah.
And so like the chorus and the beat, that's all him. And then I
Hmm.
went and, came up with some verses, and
Hmm.
it came out that way.
Yeah. I don't know how I almost forgot about them, but that's one of the ones when I actually went back and like really studied your music. That's one that really stuck out to me as well.
Wow.
It could have been the guitar sound because I'm a guitar player, so it could have been that kind of what grabbed me first. But then, of course, the
Yeah.
lyrics, powerful lyrics as well. So, um, and like I said, we're gonna fast forward to the current single, "Victorious." So, can you share
Victoria.
about that one?
So the interesting thing with my songs is I get them years in advance. Um, I'm prophetic. And
Mhm.
so like God will give me something. So I started writing that song back in 2015 when I was about to transition to Chicago. So you'll see a theme of my life has been transition and
Mhm.
my faith in following God.
Yes.
Um, and I think I'm trying to remember like what inspired it initially. Um, I think just thinking about the transition period and
Mhm.
warfare and
Mhm.
how God is doing certain things, but at that time like things weren't really panning out. So
Mhm.
when you're thinking about like at the time we were having to sell our house, we were having to
Mhm.
find employment, we were
Mhm.
having to find a new place here. And so like
Mhm.
just the warfare of everything that it took to transition, that song kind of was birthed out of that. Like when you think about the lyrics, before the battle begins, we're confident that we'll win,
Mhm.
for we are more than conquerors. So it's just a theme of faith and like really
Indeed.
trusting God and knowing that God is with you. And regardless
Mhm.
of what you're going through, like you are victorious before the fight even starts, like because of the word, because of who we are
Mhm.
as sons and daughters of God, because of the blood
Mhm.
of Jesus. Look, I'm preaching.
Mhm.
But regardless of what we will face, we already know that we're victorious, period.
Indeed. Indeed. And now we've come to our Kool-Aid segment that I was telling
Oh,
you
yeah.
about.
Okay.
So, and like I said, if you don't want to answer anything, a particular question, just say pass. Okay.
Okay.
So, not too hard of a question. But what's the driving force behind like when you're creating songs? Like, is it just always? I know you mentioned transition, but is it always that, or is it just based off scriptures that you hear, or like how do you put songs together? Like,
Usually it's
what's
where
your sauce?
usually it's where I am in life.
Okay.
Like I feel like I create life music.
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself to be very transparent and
Mm-hmm.
authentic.
Yes.
And so I write songs, like usually my songs are like prayers to God, or like I said, I'll start out just sitting in front of my keyboard and I'll just begin to sing where I am, what my requests are, and things will start to come. And sometimes they come that way. Um, Several songs. It just kind of depends. Sometimes they are birthed by like if I'm studying the word or a scripture stands out and it's like, oh, that's ministry. So it's like God is trying to say something. He wants to declare something. He wants to encourage his people. And so like Victorious is one of those declarative songs to inspire and encourage people. So it's ministry based,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? As opposed to like life journeying too, if that makes sense.
Yes. All right. We're about to turn up the heat a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
So, how do you think you have evolved? Uh, Looking back to where I guess, the mindset that you had when you was in college to now.
Ooh, when I was in college, I was a babe in Christ. I can transparently, because I am transparent. I think when I first started out, my mindset was, oh, I want to be an artist. I want to make music. I want to make it, whatever that means. It was all about me showcasing my gift. And it's like, oh, I got this gift. I want to give it to the world. But it was more so about the gift and the art of music, as opposed to now, like anything I do, I'm doing it because one, I want to be obedient, but not just because that I have a gift, but I think it's the responsibility that God has graced me with a gift. And there's something in me that people need, and it's selfish for me to sit on it especially if there's something that he wants to say. So now it's more so of, because I went through seasons, several years where I'm just like, God, I'm good. Like, I'll lead worship, I'll sing background, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to do the music. I didn't want to be in the
Wow.
forefront. But now it's
Mm-hmm.
more so I'm doing it out of obedience.
Mm-hmm. And the next one I have for you is, what's the main message you want to convey to the listeners that turn on your music?
Woo, the main message, Jesus is Lord.
Mm-hmm.
That
I
sounds
like
so
that.
churchy
Yeah.
and religious. But no, seriously, back to obedience.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that we do, we have gifts, and especially like if I'm talking to artists and singers, like
Mm-hmm.
it's not about us. It's not about us showcasing who we are, what we have to offer, but it's more so
Mm-hmm.
understanding that when God gives us gifts, like this is our purpose, this is our calling in life for the purpose of advancing the kingdom, for
Mm-hmm.
the purpose of being a blessing, for the purpose of inspiring people, using what
Mm-hmm.
we have to glorify God and not
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you've been in the industry for a while now. Um, Looking back from the beginning to the present, what's the biggest surprise that you experienced in the industry, like, or biggest lesson that you ever learned?
Um, I say the biggest lesson, that's a good question. That's a good one. Um, because I remember when I was young, I used to look at people that were in the industry, and my mindset was, God, I don't want to be like those people that we would consider hypocrites, or I don't want to be like those people that's out here singing and preaching, but they're not living um,
Mm-hmm.
what they're talking about. And I wanted to be
Mm-hmm.
the example. But as you live and as you grow, you learn not to be judgmental, because
Yeah.
you learn what you're capable of, and you learn
Mm-hmm.
that the same grace you need, you give to other people, because you don't know what season of life you will find yourself in. So I think the
Mm-hmm.
biggest lesson, one, is stay close to God. Keep people around you that will hold you accountable, um,
Yes.
and make sure that you keep your why intact. And then
Mm-hmm.
be gracious, give grace to everybody, because like I said, you never know what life will throw your way and what it will produce in you.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're about to turn up to 350 degrees now.
Oh
Okay.
my God. Okay.
So looking back over your life, what was the biggest obstacle you had to face, and you really had to exercise your faith?
The biggest one most recently, I could be transparent about this, was 3 years ago. I went through a divorce.
Mm.
Um, and that's actually around the time that I recorded both of those songs.
Wow.
So I was separated in the house with my
Mm-hmm.
ex-husband,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I was recording in our basement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember being in a space of being like, God, like, I was a worship leader.
Mm-hmm.
And the way my life was set up at that point, I was set. So it's like, okay, God, I'm at this space, I'm separating, I'm going through a divorce. How am I going to make it? I have a daughter. Um, what am I going to do? And literally trusting God. And when I tell you, God gave me a plan, I mean, when I say God is
Mm-hmm.
the real MVP, he
Yes,
gave me
ma'am.
a strategy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked the strategy, worked the plan, literally walked out, stepped out by faith. And when I tell you, I've not missed a beat, I've not lacked anything. Everything I've needed has been provided. And I'm still walking by faith today. But when I say God is faithful, God is
Mm-hmm.
faithful.
Mm-hmm. And you know, now that I didn't know that you're a child, but do you see a part of yourself in her, like,
Absolutely.
or she's the dad's side?
She's me. She's
Okay,
me. So
because
much so that I can't get mad sometimes, because I just look at her and be like, yeah, that's me.
I had someone on yesterday, and they were saying like their daughter. This because I had a married couple that's artists as well, and it was like, well, the wife, she said, oh yeah, the attitude comes definitely from me. So like you just said, I can't really get mad because I was worse than her, and so
Yep.
so so when kids, people say that they have kids, try to figure out, okay, it's like the mom, like the dad, just to kind of see, what a dynamic was. Um,
Hmm.
of course, you've collaborated with the likes of Todd Delaney, Chandler Moore, Miranda Curtis, Tim LeMan, Isabel Davis, to name a few. But do you have like a dream collab, whether it's a feature, songwriter opportunity, or just to be on a different concert or something with somebody? Is there like a dream collaboration?
The person that just popped up in my mind was Ty Tribbett. I
Okay.
love his energy. I love his
Hmm.
passion. I love the gift, the creativity. It's out of this world.
Hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think that'd be a pretty dope collaboration. I think that skyrocket to number one,
Ooh, yes.
and people really, were like really blessed by that because I think you two
Hmm.
together would be, yeah, that'd be incredible. So we got to make that happen for sure. So, um, okay, so now we're about to get into some of the fan questions that was sent in for you.
Okay.
Some people don't want me to tell their identity. I guess they close friends or family members or something. But
Okay.
the first one that was sent in was, "What are some of your hobbies?" I know you mentioned fitness earlier. You try to stay fit,
Yeah.
but what are some of your hobbies?
I'm really a homebody. I'm an introvert.
Okay.
I be in the house. Okay. I like listening to lo-fi music. I like
Hmm.
looking out my window. I like
Hmm.
peace.
Hmm.
Anything peaceful, light some candles, put something,
Hmm.
smell good, something, and
Hmm.
look out the window and just relax. That's what I
Hmm.
like to do. I'm also into fitness. I like going for a walk, run.
Hmm.
I also stretch a lot too.
Okay.
Fun fact about me, I
Hmm.
was a cheerleader in gymnastics, junior high,
Hmm.
college. So I still to this day do like the full body stretch routines that we used to do back
Hmm.
in the day, and it's
Wow.
brought me a lot of peace. So yeah, that's my thing.
I was there to join the gymnastics team when I was like in high school. So I did it for
Really?
about 2 weeks. But
What
I didn't
did
really
you
do much
explore?
because I really did compete because I told the coach like, "Hey, I'm just doing this because this, and this." So I mainly just did like the stretching and the warm up type stuff. So
Oh
when I
yeah.
tried a couple of those stretches, I think I might have did more harm to my body
Lord Jesus, help them.
because I didn't know my legs supposed to go like this and like because coming from football and basketball, I thought it was gonna be like super easy, but yeah,
No, it's
yeah,
not.
those stretches that y'all do is that's a whole nother level.
I
So.
actually played basketball. Gymnastics was more difficult than basketball, believe it or
Mhm.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother thing. So kudos to you for even still doing it.
It's
But
brought me peace.
indeed, and that's the most one of the most important things in life is peace of mind.
Yes, sir.
I know you mentioned you into fitness and all that great stuff. Um, I can't quite say the same anymore. I'm a fat back sometimes. So whenever I'm in Chicago, I have to go by Giordano's, got to go by Harold's on the
Oh
South
yeah.
Side,
Oh
and
yeah.
also Mandy's in Bolingbrook. You know, but what is your top three restaurants?
Ooh, I love Mexican food. It's
Okay.
a place on the corner where
Hmm.
I live that I walk to, and
Hmm.
they the best Mexican.
Hmm.
Um, Mexican pizza, like you said, that Chicago pizza,
Hmm.
and then some tacos. I
Hmm.
love Mexican.
Okay. All right. And then the next question that was sent in for you, like out of all the songs that you have released in your catalog, or from your catalog, what is one that you have to sing no matter where you are
Ooh,
when you go out and do performances?
I would say the one I've sang the most is probably One Word.
Okay,
That's the one
yes,
that
another great one.
people, that's
Mm-hmm.
the one that people really connected to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's one of those songs where no matter literally like life songs, like
Mm-hmm.
we need direction, like we need to hear from God. So yeah, that's one that people really pull on me for.
Okay. Uh, the next rapid question is Chicago winter or Chicago summer?
Summer,
Okay.
for sure.
Ooh, well, yeah, because that cold up there is different.
It's
I got
different.
All right,
I've
and
gotten
then
used to it, but it's different.
yeah, for sure. And like how I mentioned earlier, you have to buy your coat from there. You just can't come in with no,
Yes.
yeah. So that's a whole nother thing up there, guys. So keep that in mind when going to Chicago. Um, so we almost at the tail end here. Uh, One person wants to know, where do you get your fashion sense from?
I got fashion sense. I don't consider myself fashionable. I'm
Okay.
just me. I was an extreme tomboy when I was younger. Um,
Hmm.
so I like to be comfortable. I like what I
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
and I just wear whatever.
I got you. Okay. And then the next one is, what's the most impactful moment of your life? One, and most impactful moment of your music career.
Oh my gosh, most impactful moment of my life. That's a hard one. Um, because I won't say that because that's too vulnerable. Um, I would say when the whole journey back to walking by faith and moving to
Hmm.
Chicago, that
Hmm.
decision changed my life for the better. It
Hmm.
was literally a destiny move. It was a destiny
Hmm.
decision. Um, and it was one of those things where I knew I would not reach my potential or become who
Hmm.
God called me to be if I had stayed where I was. So that one moment and that obedience, that act of obedience shifted everything. And then
Hmm.
in music, the most impactful thing in music, you said?
Yeah, the most impactful moment or person.
Oh, oh, so most impactful person I would say in music. You may know her, Anita Smith. She
Hmm.
lives in Oklahoma City.
Yes, I know. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she was our choir director when I was a little
Nice.
girl. I grew up under her, and I tell people all the time, everything I know about music and singing and
Hmm.
teaching vocal parts, I learned from her.
Yeah, she's
She
incredible.
was amazing. Yeah,
And then
she's a huge influence.
yeah, and she's still encouraging people, inspiring people to this day, ladies and gentlemen. So, and she also has she's wrote some incredible songs as
Oh
well.
yeah.
So yeah,
Oh
and
yes.
the last one that I have for you in the rapid questions is, what was the person? I'm sorry, who is the person or people that helped shape who you are today?
Is this one Kool-Aid questions? Because the ones people that tried to break you are the ones that shape you. You know,
Yeah.
it's hardship, it's
Hmm.
challenges, it's overcoming, it's
Hmm.
heartbreak, it's pain,
Yes.
it's betrayals. I
Hmm.
think it's those things when you choose to put them in the hands of God and
Hmm.
not become bitter,
Hmm.
and you take those things to God. I think that's been the biggest thing that has shaped my character and shaped
Hmm.
who I have become.
Well, Mr. Landry, you survived the
Yes, sir.
Kool-Aid segment. And I gotta ask you, since we was talking about Kool-Aid, I'm not sure if you even drink Kool-Aid ever, but
No,
okay, because I know some. I was gonna ask you, do you call it colors or do you call it actual flavors?
it's colors. It's
Okay.
colors for grape. Well,
Uh,
grape is
yeah,
the
yeah,
flavor,
yeah,
but
yeah,
everything else is red. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. All right, all right. We won't take your car. You get to keep your car today.
All right, I appreciate it. Appreciate
All
it.
right. Of course, we're at the tail end, but what is next for Miss Shirlandria?
What's next? I'm still walking by faith. I'm trusting God. I do have
Mm-hmm.
some other music that is in the works that I'm
Mm-hmm.
in the creation phase of.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what God does with that as far as timing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still leading worship,
Mm-hmm.
um, being a mother, uh, just trusting God.
Amen. And for the promoters that's listening, how can they book you? And for everyone else, how can they follow you on social media as well?
Yes, you can book me at bookshalandria at
Mm-hmm.
gmail.com. You can email me there, and my handle on everything is Shirlandria.
Okay. And one final one. How can the listeners sow a seed into your ministry? Because I know it takes a lot to make these beautiful
Oh my goodness.
records. So how can they do that?
Uh, if you guys want to reach out to me via social media, I'm trying to pull up my cash app because I don't remember my handle because I really don't be telling people. what my Cash App is, but I think it's the $ in my name. Yeah, Shirlandria.
Okay, guys, definitely go sow a seed into her ministry. She's been doing some incredible things over the years. She got some more great things coming. As an independent artist, 99% of the time they're paying out of pocket for everything. So, um, definitely, if you want to continue to hear this great music, go pour and sow a seed and be a part of the journey with our sister Shalandria. Excuse me. Coming up, we have our latest single, Victorious, right here on the Ontario ReShard Show. Keep it locked here.